Now, staying with the 16 Days of Activism campaign focus, we now shine the focus on the plight of farm women who are decrying abuse at the hands of their partners and employers. To tell us more about this is Carmen Louw, the Deputy Director of Women on Farms project. A very good afternoon to you, Carmen. Thanks very much for your time. I don't know, one of the country's leading economists says, Louw, that women own or operate around 20% of commercial farms, and they, of course, contribute significantly to subsistence farming as well. I mean, given the overall picture, it would seem that this is a drop in the ocean, because we often hear, in fact, of stories in mining, for example, where we are told that in terms of ownerships, in terms of directorships, women are breaking new ground. But this doesn't seem to be the case in agriculture, for example.
Good afternoon, View. That is absolutely correct. Agriculture, the problem with gender-based violence in rural communities is very systemic, and it's directly linked to inequality, especially land inequality. And the majority of commercial productive land still belongs in the hands of traditional commercial farmers. 80% of land, or 72% of land, according to the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development statistics, still belong to historic white commercial farmers. So that is one. And when women don't have their own land or own means of production, they are much more vulnerable and they're dependent on male partners, which makes it difficult for them to act or leave abusive relationships, especially in the case of farm workers, where there are seasonal workers and not able to generate an income throughout the year. Also, the minimum wage is not sufficient to provide decent, wholesome food. And in the case of small-scale farmers and communal land, where women have access to land, that land is under the control of traditional leadership, also very patriarchal, and women don't necessarily have a guaranteed right of access to land. So that is part of the systemic challenges with gender-based violence in rural communities.
So women, you are suggesting, are actually not benefiting as handsomely as men, or maybe in other sense, not benefiting at all, even from the farm worker equity schemes that some people often rave about.
Yes, there's lots of documentation, research by academics and government's own investigations that farm equity schemes failed the rural communities or the farm worker communities. At some stage, there was a moratorium on farm worker equity schemes. So farm worker equity schemes were given to permanent workers, and historically male workers were permanent workers. So many women did not directly benefit from farm worker equity schemes. But farm worker equity schemes is basically a share in the business and not the land. And the way it was structured was that very few farms or farm workers received dividends from farm worker equity schemes. The Special Investigation Unit was called in to investigate the non-monetary benefit by workers. Then Deputy Minister Swatcher also came and engaged with farm workers around it. But the documents the process was of such a nature that it's basically impossible to prosecute farmers for non-delivery or not giving workers any benefits. Also, lots and lots of discrepancy. I can talk about it all day, but workers did not really benefit from farm worker equity schemes.
Well, people are suggesting that you're getting it from your private farmers, but you're also getting it, or you're not getting support or sympathy from government departments either, whether you're talking about the national department or whether you're talking about provincial departments. So you are like squeezed right in the middle.
Yes. So the public protector brought out a report earlier this year, in June this year, that confirms that the justice system, and with justice system, it's the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, the police and social development, they failed women in terms of GBV, systemically, administratively, not proper systems, lack of support, and which leads to numerous deaths and unnecessary violence against women.
But are the discussions that are critical to resolving this matter taking place at all? And I'm asking this because I understand tomorrow there's going to be a gathering in Stellenbosch where you are to examine some of these challenges.
Yes, so we've last year or beginning of this year started a process with the leadership of the police leadership in the Cape Winelands, and we meet on a regular basis. And tomorrow we will have senior officials from the Public Protector's Office to discuss the report and also to publicly go into a memorandum of understanding with Women on Farms project to see how effectively and how change can be effected with regards to gender-based violence in commercial farming towns. Also, the courts, officials of the courts will be there because we believe that a lot of the problems happen at the court, not only with regards to gender-based violence, but also with farm evictions that result in families, vulnerable families, women ending up on the road and being more exposed to violence out there, general violence on the streets. So that's the process for tomorrow, but we hope to make it an ongoing process to bring about a real systemic change to end gender-based violence in rural communities.
But will the conversations go beyond that to
Yes.
talk about, the dignity of women in agriculture, but also gender equality, but also bigger issues of actually supporting those who are prepared to roll up their sleeves?
Yes, because the problem is more than just, as I said, if women are economically independent, it will help to assert themselves and protect them better. So it's not only about the failure of the criminal justice, the court systems, but also about women being unemployed, being insufficiently compensated for their work. So it's an integrated process that needs to happen. And Women on Farms ongoingly engage with various government departments to deal with the systemic nature of women's unemployment, the exposure to violence, the exposure to toxic work environment and with toxic behavioral toxism, but also pesticides that we believe is violence, and poverty. We believe poverty is also violence. Going to bed hungry because you don't work in the off-season. So lots and lots of ongoing discussions and ongoing processes to bring about change.
Carmen Louw, let me thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.